Syrian Arab army units maintain full control of Deir Atiyeh after eliminating terrorist groups there. Syria calls on the international community to force countries supporting terrorism in Syria to stop arming and financing armed terrorist groups. Russia welcomes Syria's announcements to take part in Geneva II conference without conditions. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Irado Krikorian from the News Center in Damascus. In Damascus countryside, units of the Syrian Arab Army, in cooperation with border guards, foiled an infiltration attempt by a terrorist gang from the Lebanese Arsal town into Al-Qalamoun area, killing and wounding most of them. In the city of Qara, a military source announced that the Syrian Arab Army discovered during inspection operations a den for terrorists and a network of tunnels inside which huge amounts of weapons, explosive devices, medical equipment and ammunitions were stored. The Syrian Arab Army has restored security and stability to all quarters in Deir Atiyeh following intensive, quick and precise operations during which the last terrorist gatherings have been eliminated in the town. Among the killed terrorists in Deir Atiyeh, the Saudis Abdul Rahman al-Utaybi, Abdullah Sami al-Fantoukh and Adel al-Shumari have been identified, in addition to Yasser al-Mustafa, a leader of a group linked to Jabhat al-Nusra. The Syrian TV news correspondent who had accompanied the Syrian Arab Army units has conveyed to us the scenes of the big devastation that befell Deir Atiyeh Historical Museum after the terrorists destroyed all the historical relics the museum contained. The Syrian Arab Army also took control of the northern neighborhood of Deir Atiyeh. The inhabitants there talked about the criminal acts perpetrated by the terrorists against the civilians there. The Syrian Arab Army units have meanwhile reached the National Hospital and continue to clear the area of terrorists. The Homs-Damascus Road and the northern western axis of Deir Atiyeh are now under the full control of the Syrian Arab Army. Following intense inspection operations by the Syrian Arab Army, competent authorities in cooperation with the local residents have discovered a big amount of weapons and ammunition hidden inside a secret storehouse. In the discovered place, authorities found a plastic tank hidden under the ground in Bayadir Nader Farms in Damascus countryside. The tank contained a huge amount of rockets, wireless communication equipment, different types of medicine, RPG shells, in addition to many explosive devices and military uniforms used by terrorists to commit their terrorist attacks. In Aleppo, the Syrian Arab Army has eliminated terrorist groups who had tried to attack citizens in Salah ad-Din and Barakat al-Arman neighborhoods, killing and wounding several members of the group. The army has also destroyed terrorist vehicles loaded with arms and ammunition in the surroundings of Sheikh Najjar, Handarat, Ma'arrat al-Artik and al-Rashidin, eliminating terrorists in Al-Mansoura, the Journalists Society, Sheikh Said and the surroundings of the Central Prison and Al-Kindi Hospital. The army also demolished mortar guns and missiles launchers in Al-Jdeide, Queres, Ras al-Aboud, Plas and Erbid, as well as a vehicle provided with a 23mm anti-aircraft gun in Khan al-Asal. In Idlib, the terrorists have fired their mortar shells at the university. A police command source today said 5 mortar shells had fallen at the university square and the road leading to the second faculty of pedagogy, killing a passerby and a student and injuring 17 other students. In Daraa countryside, units of the Syrian Arab Army eliminated a number of terrorists who belonged to the so-called Al-Mu'taz Billah battalion in Atman town. Another army unit clashed with an armed terrorist group in Al-Nasira town in Nawa, killing most of its members. Syria called on the international community to force the countries which finance and arm terrorists in Syria to respect their commitments to international law and treaties and to stop supporting terrorism in Syria. Dr. Faisal Al-Hamwi, Syria's UN permanent representative in Geneva, said in a statement delivered on behalf of Syria before the 6th International Forum for Protecting Religious Minorities opened in Geneva yesterday that the Syrian Arab Republic enjoys a long history of diverse civilization, pointing out that different religious sects and denominations have been living in peace for centuries inside Syria, adding that the Syrian constitution protects the rights of all religious groups to perform their rituals. Al-Hamwi stressed that Syria has been exposed to a vicious terrorist campaign for the last 2.5 years, which aimed at spreading sedition and backwardness. The terrorists, who belong to more than 80 countries, seek to expel all minority groups outside the country and destroy the spirit of harmonious coexistence among them. The Russian Foreign Ministry has welcomed Damascus' announcement to send an official delegation to the Geneva II conference without preconditions. The Foreign Ministry has also denounced the recent statements made by the French, British and other foreign ministers, stressing that the Syrian official delegation would go to Geneva not to hand over authority to anyone. Iranian Assistant Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs Hossein Amir Abdullahian has said his country positively regards the Geneva II conference and asserts that a political solution is the only way out of the crisis in Syria. During his meeting with Director General of Political Affairs at the Australian Foreign Ministry, Ruby Leard, who is currently visiting Tehran, Abdullahian reiterated his country's rejection of foreign intervention, calling for respecting people's right to self-determination. Besides bilateral relations, Abdullahian also discussed with Liard regional developments, particularly the situation in Syria. On his part, the Australian official hoped Geneva II would be as successful as the Iranian 5+1 nuclear negotiations have been. In occupied Palestine, dozens of Israeli settlers, accompanied by rabbis and soldiers, broke into Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied Jerusalem. Israeli occupation soldiers facilitated the entrance of settlers on the anniversary of the so-called Jewish Hanukkah feast, whereas Israeli police prevented scores of students from entering the mosque. Palestinian sources said that the settlers toured different sections of the mosque as the rabbis were explaining the history of the mosque to them. As a response, tens of students staged a sit-in outside the gates of the mosque, expressing anger at the Israeli practices. In Iraq, 4 people were killed and 11 others wounded in the city of Tikrit in 2 terrorist explosions. One targeted the General Police Command of Salah ad-Din Governorate. Iraqi sources reported that a suicide bomber detonated a booby-trapped car, killing 1 person and injuring 11 others, as the convoy of the police general commander was passing by, who survived the assassination attempt. South of Tikrit, 1 police officer was killed and 3 policemen were injured following the explosion of road car bomb. Meanwhile, Iraqi authorities captured a terrorist leader who was returning from Syria after he joined an armed terrorist group there. Back to our local news, the Lunga Orchestra yesterday held a concert accompanied by sung poetry in which Western and Oriental music was played, led by violin player Al-Muthanna Ali.
The Lunga Orchestra, led by violin player Al-Muthanna Ali, yesterday held a concert under the title Sham, accompanied by poet Ismail Marwa. A group of singers performed Marwa's song poetry on the drama stage at Al-Asad House for Culture and Arts in Damascus. The poetry and melodies took the audience to a realm of surrealistic Sufism and spiritual harmony felt with every word uttered and every tune played. As a poetic musical project, Sham presents song poems that are close to Sufism, moving from one Oriental musical maqam to another, and each presented by a different singer. The evening, which started with an excerpt from Sham's song, composed by Al-Muthanna Ali and performed collectively, was also concluded with the same song.
Now to latest business and market news, but after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The investment department at the Ministry of Industry asserted that the number of the projects accomplished according to the industrial laws in the first 3 quarters of this year reached 460 with a cost of 5.744 billion Syrian pounds. The investment department pointed out that the projects have created about 3,500 job opportunities, noting that 2 industrial projects were carried out according to the investment law with a cost of 479 million Syrian pounds in Adra industrial city. As for the institutions which were constructed under the provisions of Law 21 for the year 1958, the department said that 280 projects with a cost of 5.37 billion Syrian pounds were carried out in the same period. On the other hand, the number of the licensed industrial projects reached 563, with the total cost estimated at 14 billion Syrian pounds. The Director of the Planning and International Cooperation Department at the Ministry of Agriculture declared that the Ministry's departments will develop the agriculture production plans in the end of December. He also indicated that the second amendment of the plans would be in May 2014, noting that these procedures are taken to find alternative solutions for farming several crops in new areas. U.S. crude oil traded near the lowest price in almost 6 months and at the steepest discount to Brent since March. Futures were little changed after declining 1.5% yesterday, the most in 2 weeks. Brent for January settlement gained 5 cents to reach $111 a barrel. U.S. stocks rose, extending a third monthly gain for the Standard & Poor's 500 index. European stocks also rose, with equities heading for a third monthly gain as investors weighed valuations after shares closed on 0.2% away from a 5-year high. Gold fluctuated near a 4-month low, heading for a third monthly decline as investors assessed the timing of a reduction in stimulus by the Federal Reserve. Gold for February delivery added 0.2% to reach $1,250 an ounce. Finally, the euro reached a 4-year high against the yen as annual inflation accelerated for the first time in 5 months, damping bets the European Central Bank will further loosen monetary policy. we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Till next Saturday, enjoy your weekend.